welcome back.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the One Body Podcast, brought to you by the co-host Juice.
And I am Toya. What's up? Welcome back to episode 2 of the season.
Yep.
Today we have a fun topic that it's a question we get asked a lot on our YouTube channel, and something we've wanted to make a video about for a long time, and that is age-related workouts. So, for example, we get questions a lot on, can you make a workout for 50 plus, or is this workout suitable for someone in their 40s? So just kind of addressing that topic, what that means, why someone might be looking for that, and all the fun things that go into that.
For sure. It's a good topic today. A lot of the stuff that we're addressing in like recent episodes are like questions we get asked a lot on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And instead of responding to every single comment like we used to, we're just going to address these topics because obviously it is a concern or issue or something that people want to learn more about. So a lot of these episodes might kind of relate to you just because it's something we get asked often. So real quick before we get into the podcast today, let's talk about the housekeeping.
Yay.
Again, we got the Summer Ready Challenge. It's locked and loaded right now. We got people who are just starting. So if you didn't already do this challenge, it's a great 6-week challenge focused on fat loss, building muscle, and just building overall confidence too as well. So great program. We had a lot of people enjoy it. Saw some great results, physical results, mental. The biggest thing I saw from it was like posture. Now, I think a lot of people didn't even notice that, but that was one thing I noticed.
Speaks from posture.
Yeah,
you said that.
I'm huge on posture, so that was one of the things I noticed. So if that's something that interests you, go check out the Summer Ready Challenge. We'll link it down in the description of this video or right here on the screen. But also, you can purchase this program by itself. So you don't have to get an app subscription. If you do want an app subscription, you can get access to all of our other programs, workouts, recipes, you know everything. We said after every video. So go check it out. Link down in the description.
Oh, yeah. And then if you're not already on our email list, make sure you go sign up for the email list at onebodyla.com.
Yep.
Sign up there for just emails that we send out. Sometimes they'll have giveaways in them. Sometimes it's just important information. We are going to do some more in-person workouts this summer, so you'll see all the info for that as well. And then lastly, at onebodyla.com, you'll also see our merch, which is in partnership with Lululemon. So all the fun things, we get asked a lot, how can we support you? And one of those ways is purchasing merch. So make sure you go check out both of those things on onebodyla.com.
All right. That's the housekeeping. Cool. So, see, we like to do it quick. So let's get into the topic today. It's all about age-specific workouts.
Yes.
So one of the biggest comments we get all the time is, do you have any workouts for 40 plus, 50 plus, 60? We've even gotten 70 plus.
It's usually 40 and above.
40 and up. Yeah, for sure. And again, we can't respond to every single comment, which is why we're making this podcast today. But our common response to that is, yes, our workouts are made for 18 plus. And you know what I mean? Like, we try to make workouts, if you haven't noticed already, we try to make workouts that are doable for most people. Of course, every workout isn't built for everyone, and we understand that.
Yeah.
And if let's say you're someone and you have limitations, you might find yourself being more comfortable with trainers or a YouTube channel that kind of focuses on things that are, more of your
specific to that limitation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have any issues of shoulder pain, you might kind of gravitate towards something that's a little bit more focused to help you get back to doing certain exercises. So one of our common responses is like, yes, we do have workouts for everyone. For most of our workouts, there's a modification for a lot of the exercises. And we always say too, if there are 1 or 2 exercises within a workout that you just physically know you can't do, that doesn't mean you can't do the workout.
Right.
You can replace those exercises with things that you can do, maybe even another set of something that you enjoy. Or we always say, just do some jumping jacks at the very least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of people see a certain exercise like, oh, this workout isn't for me. Like, try to do as much as you can, and then try to make those modifications where you need to make them.
I think people see specific exercises, just for example, squats. And we get a lot of comments that say, like, don't forget about people who are 50 who can't squat. And then in that same video, you'll have people that will respond and be like, yo, I'm 73 and I'm doing this video. We can squat, you know? And so I think
it's like a beef going on in the comments.
Yeah. And I think when those comments are like, don't forget about people that are 50 plus. It generalizes that group. And so we did a poll on our Instagram and just asked how many of you search specifically when you search for a workout, how many of you search specifically for age related? And out of almost 1,000 votes, 17% said, yes, I do. And the rest said no. So
that's a lot,
which
though.
which 17%, that is, quite a bit of people when you look at that number. And I put another story that said why. If you do search, what is the reason? And majority of that 17% were because I don't want to get injured. And a lot of them said, because at this age, I don't want to get injured. So let's say it was 40, 50, 60, whatever the age is, you don't want to be injured at that age. And then a lot of them said, because I have knee issues. And then I saw a handful that said we shouldn't be doing those exercises. So we genuinely wanted to know, like, what is the reason that someone might search? And then one other one that is very, very common is menopause. I search for specific exercise for menopause. So we kind of want to address those things. And those are some of the reasons why. And I'd say those are probably the biggest reasons why. Avoiding injury, menopause, we shouldn't be doing that.
And I guess for some people who, I would ask the question back, like if I could have a conversation with people who left a comment, I would say like if they ask, do you have a workout for 50 plus? I would ask them, what does that look like to you? You know what I mean? Because for us, we were personal trainers first. Like most of my clients were 40 plus, believe it or not. So, and a lot of the exercises that we do today on our channel are exercises that either they do or I, worked on them as far as mobility and building strength to be able to do, right? So like I always take pride in the oldest clients I had, he was honestly more fit than some of the 30-year-olds that I had.
Shout out to him.
I'm not going to say his name, but you know who he is. But, he was more fit. He was able to do push-ups. He was able to.
What was his age? You didn't say how old he was.
I want to say at the time, I don't want to butcher this, but it was 70, low 70s, like 72, I believe. And doing lunges, push-ups, squats.
Power push-ups, like onto, like, man, safely.
I'm going to ask for his permission to use the video, but he was amazing. And that's what set the bar really, even for me as a trainer, to like see that there is no limitation because of age. Just because you're 40 plus or 50 plus doesn't mean
the age itself
doesn't
is
make
not
you
the
not
limitation.
capable. Right. Because how I look at it, I plan to be doing a lot of the exercises, a lot of the running, maybe even at a more intense level, just because I know how I am. I'm always competitive. I always want to push myself. So if I'm 40 plus or 50 plus and I see a workout routine or program that's like saying 40 plus 50, I kind of might look at it and be offended. And there might be some people out there who look at him like, why does this 40 plus? I can jump.
And they say that in the comments.
No, they literally say that. They're like, I'm 55 and I do box jumps. I run marathons. You know what I mean? So we, as trainers, don't like to put limitations. And again, we're not putting down anybody who creates programs like that.
And we'll get into that too.
Because I do understand the marketing behind that, because someone who is 40 plus might look at that and say, oh, that makes me feel comfortable. You know what I mean? But at the same time, our mantra is we want people, if you can't do a particular exercise, let's work on fixing it to where you can. Because and we'll get into it. I'm like,
so I think a good place to start is we've already established like the age is not the limitation. So just because you hit 40, just because you hit 50, that doesn't mean that all these things stop. Running should stop. Strength training should stop. Like the comments that said like we shouldn't be doing those at that age, that simply is not true. In fact, doing a lot of these things can help to prevent majority of the things that you're worried about. So for example, things that happen, sarcopenia as you age, there are things that happen as you age that they happened, right? And so you're correct in being more aware. So like sarcopenia, bone density, joint health, muscle loss, right? So you're going to lose muscle, but those are things that can be combated with strength training, right? And so if you avoid those things because of the fear of getting injured because you've lost muscle mass, you're in turn making it worse, right?
Yeah.
So when you do lose that muscle mass, you haven't preserved as much because you stopped strength training. And so now anything that happens related to that muscle loss is going to be even worse. If you continue to strength train and help to preserve as much muscle mass as you can to help your bone density, to help your joint health, which was actually another one was bad joints.
Yeah.
Strength training and movement can help with joint health. And so a lot of these things, they can be combated or helped. A lot of the things that we're worried about when we stop training because of age can be helped with continuing to train.
For sure.
And so the age is not the limitation. So just because you hit 40, just because you hit 50, that's not the limitation. If you have a limitation, period, that's the limitation, right?
Yeah.
And so you could be 20, you could be 30, you could be 40. If you have an issue that prevents you from doing exercises, it's not the age's fault, right? And so you might say like, oh yeah, it is the age's fault because as I got older, this happened. But a lot of those things, again, can be prevented or made less worse, I guess is a good way to say it, by continuing to strength train. So just like he said, I hope to still be doing box jumps and strength training and all of these things as I get older. And we're also in our 30s. I saw a lot of comments that were like, when you hit 30, you'll find out.
I think y'all...
We're not. we
are 32.
So, yes. And and we've talked about this in another podcast where there were things I did in my 20s that it's not that I can't do them anymore. I have had to change the way that I do them.
Change
and so
your
that's
approach
kind of what we'll get into next.
For sure. And basically what she's saying is whether you have limitations or you kind of mentally create those limitations is going to result in more limitations, right? So if you look, for example, a big one is a bad knee. Like everybody got a bad knee.
Yeah.
I got 2 bad knees.
Yeah.
To believe it or not, I got 2 surgeries on these knees. But I could have easily been like, oh, I've had MCL meniscus surgery on both my knees. No more running for me.
Yeah.
No more sprinting. No more box jumps. No more heavy squatting. No, I was like, I want to fix my knees. And in fact, I want to become stronger than I was before. And I did. I focused on my rehab. I focused on just really doing the things that help strengthen the muscles around my knee. Because I always tell people the biggest, when it comes to any type of limitation, the biggest thing to really focus on is your mental, right? You might be completely healed, but you might have had a traumatic injury that kind of forced you to think, I can't do that again.
Yeah.
I literally tore my Achilles playing basketball. Have I played basketball since? No, but I don't plan to stop playing basketball. Basketball is something I enjoy. It was literally the first sport I ever played. So the big focus should just be to focus on fixing the issue that you have and then go from there. And then the goal should be for you to do a particular exercise. So let's say, for example, you hate lunges. There are a lot of people on our channel. Can you make a video?
I don't like lunges either.
Nobody really likes lunges, but it's a great exercise.
Yeah.
It's a great single leg exercise to really build stability, to build strength, to build just to be solid. And honestly, it is very functional when it comes to things that we do on a daily basis. So the goal shouldn't be, I'm going to avoid lunges for the rest of your life. So what happens when you get into a position where you have to lunge? You might slip and get into a lunge position. That's going to create more limitation. You don't have the mobility or the strength, and that's going to lead to an injury.
Get yourself up, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's kind of how we look at it. If there's literally things that I can't do right now. Like I want to be able to do a pistol squat again. I can't do a pistol squat and it bothers me. So I work every day to build that strength, build the stability to be able to do a pistol squat.
Yeah.
So that's just a firm example. And again, it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 20 or 50. Yep. I've seen there are people who are 50 who can do things that I can't do.
Yeah, and that is a great segue into our next point. So a lot of the exercises that might be avoided because of age are actually things that you are doing or you could be doing or should be doing every single day. So for example, one of the biggest things is people 50 plus shouldn't squat. Do you sit down to go to the bathroom? Do you stand back up?
Least 15 times a day.
Do you sit down into a chair? All of those things are squatting patterns. When you bend over to pick something off the ground, whether it's a box, your grandchild, your dog, that should be a deadlift, right? So those are movements that you do. And just because you're not holding a dumbbell doesn't mean you're not getting into that movement, right? And so a lot of times when people say like, I can't do this exercise because of my age, or I'm not supposed to do this exercise, it's like, you are doing that exercise, right? And so that kind of gets us into the next thing of like, it's okay to do those movements. You don't have to be going super heavy just because that's our goal or someone else's goal. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get any benefit out of it if you're not using lighter weights than they are, right? It's just learning how to safely do those functional movements so that you're able to get on the ground, play with your grandchild, and then get into a lunge position and get back up so that you can pick up a box when a package is being delivered.
Yeah.
If you need to pick up anything off of the floor, if you need to squat down and use the bathroom and get yourself back up unassisted, those are all things that strength training help you as you age or not as you age, right?
Yeah.
Like those are things that doesn't matter your age. You're doing those every single day. So just changing the way that you look at exercise and movement, and maybe don't think of it as an exercise. Don't think of a squat as a squat and think of it as this is helping me to sit back and get back up without assistance.
Yeah.
Or pain.
Those are the things we kind of take for granted on a daily basis, right? Like I always just do the analogy. Like imagine if you broke your pinky. You don't realize how important your pinky is until it doesn't work anymore, right?
Yep.
But we might look at the pinky like, oh, it's the smallest finger. It doesn't really do anything. But, we take advantage, we take for granted some of the movements that we're able to do on a daily basis. I mean, I've been injured enough to not take anything for granted. Like just being able to walk. I've been on crutches multiple times in my life. I've been in a boot multiple times in my life where I couldn't do the simple things in life, and that frustrates me.
Yeah.
So imagine how efficient your life can be if you're strong enough or mobile enough to be able to do some of these functional exercises that are important for your body. So that's the biggest importance. I think we, as a fitness society, yes, especially here in America, the biggest focus is always fat loss, weight loss, right? We're not considered a healthy country. So most people who are working on their fitness are more hyper focused on the fat loss of things. But I think sometimes focusing too much on just losing weight all the time kind of clouds the actual improvements that you can make other than the fat loss. So one thing that we noticed throughout this challenge is a lot of people, there were quite a few people that said, I didn't really see much of a physical result, or it was mostly I didn't see much weight come off
on the scale. Yeah.
But for some reason, my pants fit different, right? My shirt fit different, or I just feel more confident in my
more
clothes,
energy.
more energy. And a lot of that is, again, loss of body fat and gain of muscle. And the biggest, one of the things I'm proud to see is just the strength that people build. Just imagine just being stronger and able to do things. It just makes how you move way more efficient. So when it comes to exercise in general, focus on everything that you get from exercise. You get the strength, you get the feel of consistency. You know what I mean? Like all the other benefits, bone health, joint health, right?
Yeah.
All the benefits that come with working out, and don't really just focus on the fat loss. And I think that's another thing too, is like people look at certain exercises or a workout like, I can't do that, or that's not good enough. I need something that's going to keep my heart rate up. That's not how fitness works, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we wanted to kind of also talk about to that point too is that limitations can create more limitations, right? And so just for example, let's say you rupture your Achilles. Now you're not able to do lower body exercises that are knee dominant. And so now you're losing muscle mass in your quads. So now whenever you do get back to being able to strength train, you might have more knee pain or more back pain because you've lost muscle or strength in your glutes,
Why are you
right?
talking about my life like this?
Just using you as an example, because
PTSD.
I watched this firsthand where you started to have like hip pain, low back pain, like all these things. And what happened? You stopped training your legs, but you had to, right? Because you had an injury. And so one of the things that I watched him do was take his PT and training serious when he got back into it, because just in that, I mean, I say a short amount of time, it was like 6 months of rehab and before he was really able to like really strength train your lower body again. But just in that short amount of time, you started to feel aches and pains. So looking at that, when I see a lot of people say like, can you do a workout without squats? Can you do a workout without using my knees? I don't like to do lunges. It's And then they say like, I can't do this because I have low back pain. And a lot of times, like he said, I wish we could have conversations to help explain how when you strengthen your glutes, strengthen your quads, instead of avoiding those things, that might help your back pain, right? And it's hard, obviously, like you might have knee pain because you really hurt your knee and you really can't squat now, right? Like if you have a actual limitation that's like, no, I really can't squat right now.
We're not talking about like chronic issues.
Yeah,
We're
or like
about
with him, he ruptured his Achilles.
Like,
and for me to be like, no, do a squat would not have been correct. So obviously, just, you know your body best. But if you're avoiding it because you don't like it or you're scared to injure yourself, those are things that can create further issue down the line. So with that being said, we want to give you some tips on, if that is you, things that you can do to safely get back into it. It might be 20 years since you've done strength training, right? And you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I am just avoiding it. It is never too late. Never. It is never too late. If you're listening to this and you're 80, it's not too late, right? You're still using the bathroom, right? You're still trying to sit down to a chair. So it's never too late to start training functionally. And again, I don't want you to hear strength training and think you've got to put a barbell on your back with 600 pounds on it. That's
bodybuilding.
Yeah.
We're not bodybuilders.
So we want to give you a few tips that you can do to safely get back into it. The first one for me is, if searching for an age specific workout will get you to strength train, then search for it, right? If that makes you feel less intimidated, we have always said, whatever keeps you consistent, whatever's going to get you moving, that's what we want you to do. But with that being said, we don't want you to feel like a workout has to be labeled 40, 50, 60 plus for you to be able to safely do it. So one thing that we recommend is find a trainer or a PT, especially if you were someone that said, I'm scared of injury. That would be number one recommendation, is find someone that will help you to do it safely. They can assess your movement. They're there to watch you to make sure you don't get injured, and should have the knowledge to help you do it safely to not be injured.
For sure. And I think one of the hesitations, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people might say, like, I don't have the funds or the money to be able to afford PT. And you got to look at it as like, if you were sick, you would go to a doctor. Yeah. You know what I mean? You would pay for that. It's the same thing. You're not sick, but you have a limitation that's preventing you from doing things, and it's preventing you from even just doing more, you know, right? Because the more limitations you have, the more limited you are. And there are less options for you out there, right? Yeah. So you should want to like broaden your world of exercises or things that you can do fitness wise. So like I said, I think I take that back. One of the oldest people I trained was 80 plus, one of my clients' moms, and she was... I was shocked, honestly, of how she moved. But my client said she takes her health serious, especially as you get older. You know, you should. But she could squat. Yeah. She could lift weights. Like, granted, she was only lifting 10-pound weights, but she was lifting.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yep. Like, she had no issues. So that's what I want people to understand. And like, we train, like us specifically, we like to train for longevity. Yes. I want to be able to do the things that I was doing when I was 25, and I am capable of doing those things. And I know I can do them a lot better if I just put more focus into it. So like she said, if it makes you more comfortable to search those things, do so. Absolutely do so, because we understand that. Like, you got to get into it, and whatever keeps you consistent, that's what you should go with. But understand that if you see us post a workout that says high intensity, unless it says advanced, don't limit yourself from doing it. Actually try to do it. Make note of the things that you can and can't do. Maybe replace some of those things, and then make it a goal and say, like, I want to do that. And another thing, instead of avoiding, try to modify or try to just look at it, approach it differently. So what I mean by that is, instead of avoiding the strength training, modify what is bothering you or maybe hurting you in a way. So for example, if you know that
squatting really deep hurts your knee. Maybe don't go as deep. Maybe just try to sit back to a bench and then try to figure out, or is it a tightness? Is there a weakness somewhere? So maybe just looking at what is causing the issue and modifying instead of avoiding altogether. And this is one thing in the app where people are like, I can't do squats. What's an alternative?
Why
and then when we
can't you do
ask, why can't you do the squat? And they're like, oh, it hurts my knee. And then we say, okay, when does it hurt your knee? And we break it down that way. And we give them like, okay, try this. They're like, oh, I could squat. Right. And so it's definitely just looking at it as like, just maybe modifying instead of completely avoiding, right?
For sure.
And then also focusing on your form. So like he said, if you can't afford financially a PT or personal trainer right now, physical therapist or personal trainer, they're both PT, try to focus on the form the best you know how. So through a YouTube video, we have a few videos that are talking the cues out loud. Beginner friendly. Yep. So even if you have to repeat that beginner friendly, even if you're like, I'm not beginner, I've strength trained before, but you need that voice in your ear to say, hey, engage your core. Hey, maybe squeeze your glutes or whatever it is. Utilize those cues as long as you need them until you feel comfortable moving forward, doing it on your own.
We do that too as well. Like sometimes we need a refresher just on even certain exercises that we're doing. So like we do it to each other. If I'm doing a certain exercise and she's like, pull your shoulders back, like, you know, we need that refresher. We need that reminder because again, fitness is like, especially when you're following a program, it is repetitive. So sometimes it's so easy to get lost in the exercise and you kind of forget the posture of or form of everything. So don't think just because you're new to fitness, you know, it's wrong to get that help. Like we need that kind of reminder all the time too. And that's why in a gym, especially the gym we go to, there are mirrors on every single wall. You know what I mean? You can see your form. I probably work out a lot better at the gym than I do at home just because I can see myself from literally multiple different angles depending on where I'm working out at the gym. So like she said, don't avoid, just focus on modifying and then again, make it a goal to be able to do those exercises.
Yeah. And just really quickly too, I know we're talking a ton about strength training, but this goes for cardio as well. So remembering that cardio is cardiovascular health related. And so that's obviously very important to also train your heart. And so running is one thing. That was another thing where people shouldn't run because of the impact. That's also not true, right? There's ways that you can do it where it's not as much impact. You also don't have to run a marathon if you don't want to, right? But if running is not your cup of tea, there's so many other ways that you can get in cardio too. And so if utilizing different machines is the best way for you to get in your cardio, then that's great, right? So however you can get in that cardio, exactly. That's another important thing too. So, but one thing I want to say too, like just to shout out one of my older clients this is something that I'll never forget, where she was in her 70s. Also young 70s. And she was so excited to tell me that she fell and was able to get back up. But that wasn't the only thing. She was excited because she said almost every single one of her friends had had a hip replacement. And when she fell, one of the first things she thought about was like, how many people do I know that have fallen and broken something? Her boot got stuck in a like drain thing walking outside, and she got back up like nothing. And she was like, that was just huge for me because that wouldn't have happened for a lot of my friends. And she didn't start strength training until she was in her 40s. So she didn't start strength training until she was in her 40s. So back to, it's never too late. It's never too late. She didn't start till she was in her 40s. And this was when she was in her 70s. And she strength trained 3 days a week. And word for word, she said, I didn't break anything. And I attribute that to my strength training. So 3 days a week was what she was doing. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you know, every single day she had to strength train. And she also wasn't going super heavy, you know, like she stayed within her range. That was challenging for her. But look at that testimony of, you know, one, again, didn't start till she was in her 40s. So it's not too late. And she easily could have been like, I'm in my 40s. It's too late to start now. No. And then to be in your 70s, still strength training, I'm sure for her to see that probably only motivated her more because she's like, wow, like, don't want to be dramatic and say like it saved my life, but like that, let's say she would have broken her hip, and then think of how long that recovery
That's
is. And
30 years
it's
of
going
strength training.
into like a rabbit
That's
hole
crazy.
of recovery, you know? So just another testimony to show that it's never too late to start, but also the benefits of strength training as you age as well. So,
Like I mentioned earlier, longevity.
Longevity.
Like,
Yeah.
not to say her life would have been drastically different, but the strength training was a big effect on just where she is now physically. You know what I mean? And we always say that they're going to live to their 100 and something because it's
amazing.
active.
It's so inspiring.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring. And I bring that up because one of the comments that we got in the response yesterday was, I don't want to injure myself because of recovery at this age. But what happens if you injure yourself falling? What happens if you injure yourself not working out?
Correct.
The recovery is much harder. If you injure yourself anyway, the recovery is harder, period, at that age. So why not try to help yourself to prevent those injuries from happening? And you can safely train without injuring yourself if it's done correctly. That's the bottom line.
For sure.
So,
and I'm just a testament of just having very traumatic injuries and coming back from those injuries rather quickly. So, for example, I was pretty much 90% healed from my Achilles after month 6, when it's usually a 9 to 12 month protocol, right? But I really focused on my rehab, and these are things that I did at home, right? So if money is something that is hard for you to invest in, especially like a personal trainer or PT, maybe just do one session a month, because that's what I did. I did one, maybe every other week. I took all of those exercises and I just hammered them for a couple of weeks until I went to go see him again. So a lot of the stuff that you can do to just get better is being right in your comfortable space at home, right? I mean, if anything, 2020 told us that. Like we can be fit anywhere. You don't have to go to a gym. You can get better every single day. If you want to get better at squats, or if you struggle with squats, work on that stuff at home, do some rehab stuff, and it'll get you back a lot quicker than you think. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? And then one thing I want to add to it is the best thing I love seeing about people who are 40, 50, 60 plus, who really decide to give it a chance and really focus on fixing their issues to be able to do more things. Their confidence skyrockets. Like, that's what I love, man. That's like my favorite thing to see as a trainer. That's what I miss about being an in-person trainer, just seeing the confidence people have when they come into the gym, or the clothes that they wear, or just the things that they are capable of doing, right?
And the excitement
that they get from it. That just makes me feel good. And my whole mantra when it comes to training people is, I want to make people who feel like they can't feel like they can. I want to make normal people feel like they can do athletic things, so be an athlete, right? So that's the biggest thing. If any of this stuff doesn't sell you, you're going to be a lot more confident in yourself, how you look, and how you perform when it comes to certain movements.
Absolutely. And the last point I want to address that we didn't cover that I wanted to touch to was the menopause. That is something that, your hormones change, your body changes, your energy levels, you're more fatigued. And so in that time, I think, especially on the app, we see a lot of people that will say, like, I'm going through menopause, like I don't have the energy to do X, Y, and Z right now. And that's a real thing, right? And so again, they're not avoiding movement, but finding the movement that works for you.
Right.
And during this specific stage, strength training is the most important, right? And so a lot of people I saw, they're like, I avoid HIIT during menopause, or I avoid any cardio. And again, kind of going back to, don't avoid it, but maybe find a way to modify it, because that cardiovascular health is still important. But yes, during that time, strength training is going to be very crucial. And if you only have a certain reserve of energy during that time to work out, the focus is on strength training. So maybe finding a way to get in some cardio it might not be as intense because you don't have that energy. So again, just kind of going back into, instead of avoiding, how can we modify so that you're not creating more limitations down the road as well.
For sure.
So, it kind of just wrapping up, or like summarizing all of this. Essentially, we understand where that need or that want comes from in terms of having age-specific workouts. But we want to try to motivate you to look at it less as an age limitation and more as if you have a limitation, why? Is it something that we can work through? Is it something that we can erase as a limitation so that you're able to functionally move pain-free, confidently, and increase your longevity?
Yeah. And how I look at it, imagine being 39, you just ran your fifth marathon in your life, and then the clock ticks to 40, and you're like, well,
I'm 40, can't run anymore.
Time to take those lunges out.
Yep.
Like you're just, you're really just messing up the potential. You know what I mean? Like just because you're older don't mean you can't grow. Doesn't mean you can't get better at certain things. I know people who have gotten faster at their marathons, who've gotten stronger as they
get
age,
older. Absolutely.
I see it all the time. So don't feel like I'm 55 right now, I'm not able to do anything.
Don't believe it. You
will be in 15 years, you will be 70 years old and stronger than you've ever been in your life. Trust me. So
and you're going to feel amazing.
Exactly. So if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this wherever you listen to podcasts, drop a comment and let us know your story. If we don't even like to make it 40 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus, like as you got older,
yes.
Talk about, maybe just leave a testimonial of your own to talk about how you grew as you started to understand the things that we talked about in this podcast, where there's just like understanding the importance of strength training, understanding of making those modifications until you can do some of those more advanced exercises.
I want to I'll start with my testimony if people, that inspires them to share really quickly. One thing I saw too was people modifying workouts because of pregnancy. And the biggest thing I saw was, I don't feel the same after pregnancy. I have less energy. The list goes on because having a child is a lot. And that happened to me. And I think a lot of people look at us and they're like, well, you're still young. We have had people say like, wait till you get older. You don't understand now. The thing is, we've been moving since 15, 16 years old. And so for 15, 16 years now, we've been going at this, where our bodies are tired too, right? And so like I mentioned earlier, I used to be able to just get up and go run 10 miles. Get
warm
up and go run. No warm up. And then afterwards, just go to work. No stretching, nothing.
Not even sore.
Let me tell you, if I did that now, I wouldn't make it 10 miles, right? So what I've had to do, that doesn't mean when I turned 30, stop running. No. What that meant was, it wasn't just a specific age. It was just as I got older in general, I started to have to focus more on my warming up and my mobility and stretching and appropriately doing these workouts. And then when I got pregnant, I had to shift the way that I worked out. That didn't mean to stop. I had to adjust for my pregnancy. And now that I've had the baby, my sleep is the worst it's ever been. And to say that, like, I still get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, but it's interrupted, right? It's not that deep sleep that I miss so much. But it's just a period in time right now. It might last 18 years, but that doesn't mean that I have to stop strength training, and it doesn't mean to stop moving. So just for example, today I did not get good sleep dealing with the migraine. I planned to go run today. The run didn't happen. I did mobility work instead, right? And so just giving you examples of, it doesn't matter what age you are, things are going to happen where you might have a season of life where your energy is off. You're not feeling as strong as you used to. All of that to say, I now lift heavier, and I mentioned this in the last podcast, than I did pre-pregnancy ever in my life. I lift heavier now, and I'm not even working out as much. I just had to shift my focus differently. I had to make each workout as efficient. I used to work out 6-7 days a week, no problem. I don't have that energy now, and I don't have the time now, right? So every workout is efficient now. Every workout has a purpose to me. And yes, I should have been training like that before, but I had free time. It was like, I just go in and do whatever I want, you know? And so just for me, it's like, we do understand. We may not understand it in the way that you're feeling something, but we do have our challenges as well when it comes to working out. I know we look young, and I know it may come off as like it's easy for you all. It's not.
Y'all don't see the pain. Y'all don't see me on that foam roller crying.
Every day is a different challenge. And so, just to say, like, we have had our different seasons of challenges that we've had to overcome when it comes to fitness. And we feel that. So just, we can relate in a certain way, and we do understand.
For sure. And I think the biggest point of all of that, just to kind of wrap this up, is as you get older, you learn to train smarter,
Yep.
and you learn to train according to where you are, right?
Yep.
So like she said, we can get away with stuff when you're young, right? You can get away with not warming up.
Yeah.
You can get away with maybe having some bad form on some squats or bent over rows, right? Because your body's a little bit more agile, right? You're able to get away with certain things. But as I quickly found out right before I turned 30, right? Every workout that I do, there's a reason I go work out at 5:30 in the morning, because my warm up is 15 minutes. I'm in a full sweat. And I do this not because, just because I know my body. I know if I want to lift heavy, if I want to really build my legs, if I want to really get strong in my deadlift, my bench press, that's going to take a lot of not only pre-work, so like the warm-up, but also the recovery work as well. Yeah. So you have to be willing to do that stuff, but also just be knowledgeable about it. And if I leave you with one thing, just educate yourself more about fitness. I think if more people just educated themselves on what is possible, or what you can do, or what you can modify, or how you can make something better.
Or an exercise that makes you uncomfortable, research it and figure out what it is that makes you uncomfortable and the benefits behind it, etc.
Man, life would be so much different, and you might approach fitness a lot different. So I would honestly say a lot of our older clients who train now, they're training on their own now. We don't do as much one-on-one training as we used to, but we're confident a lot of the clients we worked with, they took it and ran with it.
They're crushing it.
They're crushing it right now on their own without our help. So that's just a testament to that. So with that being said, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. That was one that was deep on the heart. We wanted to do that in the last season, but it just kind of got away from us. But I'm glad we got to talk about it. But again, drop a comment down under this video and just let us know your story of whether you're 30 plus, 40, 50, 60 plus. How has strength training, how has just really understanding fitness helped you not only relieve some of those limitations that you have, but also just be able to do things that you never thought you were able to do? We'd love to see those testimonies. And also, I think other people reading or listening to this podcast it might inspire them, because I think just us saying it isn't even enough. I think people really need to see the people who have been crushing it over time and are able to do great things.
And if you're someone who's avoiding it, or you were someone that says, I don't strength train X, Y, and Z, maybe drop Y, and maybe people might have a story to share with you in your comment that might help inspire you, motivate you, or help encourage you as well. So yay. All right. So with that being said, last but not least, we're going to wrap it up with a dad joke by Juice.
Hey, dad joke's my favorite part of the podcast.
We started dad jokes before he became a dad, by the way.
For sure. That's how I get y'all to stick around to the end. All right, so I have a dad joke. What do you call a weightlifting vegetable?
A weightlifting vegetable.
Yeah. I might have even said this already, but I love it.
Weightlifting vegetable. For some reason, squash came to mind, squat.
You get it?
Squash.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Let me know when you tap out.
A weightlifting vegetable.
Yeah.
Oh, this should not be this hard.
You're thinking too hard.
All right, tell me.
It's a Brussels sprout.
Oh my God. A Brussels sprout. So we really appreciate you all joining us.
I ain't done. Don't cut me off.
Okay, another one.
I didn't do one in the last one. We got another one.
Okay, a bonus.
Got a bonus. This one bad. I should have led with this one. Why did the weightlifter go to therapy? Why did he need therapy?
The weightlifter?
Yeah. I gave you a hint. He was working on upper body that day.
He needed to decompress.
Man, that's good. It ain't it, but that's good. That was good. I give you that one. Give her a thumbs up for that. He just wanted to get something off his chest. He just wanted to get something off his chest. All right, this is a bad one, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Oh, we have another one.
Yeah, this is bad. This
one,
I mean, I don't really like it, but it's funny. Why can't athletes live more than prisoners?
I don't know.
Because the pros outweigh the cons.
I literally was gonna say pros and cons. Wow, that was bad. That was really bad. The therapy
man.
one was my favorite.
Okay, that's good. All right. Also, drop in the comments how my dad jokes are.
Rate them on a 1 to 10.
Look, they're not meant to be that funny. Okay, just they're meant to give you a little chuckle.
Oh
you know what I
my
mean? Just a little
goodness.
chuckle.
I'll come with the dad joke next time.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
But we appreciate y'all for joining us.
Thank you. Drop
Our-
some topics in the comments as well of ideas that you'd like to see us discuss.
Yeah, our son is currently
Screaming.
He's sitting up in the crib, and it's kind of, he does this thing where he wakes up and he will literally just sit there patiently. Sometimes I don't even know if you can see that.
If you can
Maybe
see it. He's
pointing
just
at the camera.
playing.
He just plays with himself, and then till mom and dad come in, he looks over. He's like, "Oh, it's
Hello.
time."
He's a very patient boy.
Man, we're so grateful. But we appreciate y'all for joining us for another podcast episode. Go to onebodyla.com to sign up for our email list. Don't miss out on any updates. Go grab some merch. Go grab our programs. Get the Juice and Toya app. But with that being said,
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all at the next one.